Welcome to Bonus Boss from Cruel Fan Gaming. I'm Benny Ulich, and with me, as always, is our friend Ryan Collins.
Hello, how's it going?
Going well. So, Ryan, today I'm drinking some nice black coffee in
Yep,
this crappy mug I got from Walmart. It does its job.
like it.
What can you tell me about what you're drinking today?
So I am actually drinking from my ice shaker. Let's see if I can get it on camera there. The ice shaker. I'm drinking actually just regular Gatorade from it right now, but keeps it nice and cool for even up to 30 hours if you put ice in there. A lot of ice and pack it down. Um, so make sure to check out Ice Shaker. Check out that link in the description. They are sponsoring this podcast. Check out Ice Shaker, link in the description. We appreciate it.
All right. So before we get into, our main topic today, let's just talk about a few things that we've found this week. And actually, no, what am I doing? I need to start with what have you been playing this week?
Ah, yeah. What have I been playing? So, based on our conversation last week, I started playing Rocket League again.
All right. And how have you enjoyed it?
uh, it is a very frustrating game. It's like beyond frustrating. It's addictive, but it's beyond frustrating just because like the whole like when you're jumping with the car and everything like that, like moving around and trying to hit the ball, it is like crazy ridiculous. And also the teams are random, so it's hard to well, unless you like squad up with somebody and you actually talk to them or whatever. But mostly I've just been doing the random games. I finally ranked up past rank 10, so now you can start customizing your car and things like that. That's kind of fun. So, yeah, that's what I've been playing this week mostly. Been playing a little bit of baseball, but not really anything too much more. I want to get back into Ghost of Tsushima once I um, decide to play that again. But yeah, for right now, it's been a lot of Rocket League for me.
All right. Well, okay, I'm ready to go off a little bit here.
Okay.
Okay. So I've been playing Super Hot for the last few weeks. We've talked about it, right? I basically finished the game. It's the sequel, so it's Super Hot Mind Control Delete. Uh, the ending is really stupid. So without giving too much away, there's kind of a focus on the game of it like it means nothing. You're just playing forever, and the story is that there's no story, and
Yeah.
it's confusing and weird. And you know what? It's a really fun game. But then you get to the end, and there's this bit where, like, to be able to finish, you need to, like, leave the game on for, like, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or something like that. But to get to that point, they don't tell you how to, like, end it, and it's really confusing. And I had to find the guide.
Huh.
Right now, my PlayStation is on, waiting for that 2.5 hours so I can actually be finished with the game.
So the game just continues, and you're supposed to just like leave on your game, just waiting.
So, no, not quite. When you finish the final level,
Yeah.
uh, the screen is like a menu where you can't do anything on it.
Okay.
You can scroll around a little bit, and there's like some fun little like mini games and cute little dialogue sections. But beyond that, there's like nothing really there. And you have to like then find something that looks like one of the mini games. Like they make it look like you're going through game files or whatever,
Yeah.
or through computer files, and then you have to like sit there and just let it go for a while.
Huh.
And it's so stupid, and it took forever to even find how to get to that point.
So currently you're waiting for this to do whatever.
Yes, so that then
Like
I
a
can
fake download basically, like is
yeah,
what you're doing?
yeah,
Okay, so you're
yep.
waiting for it to fake download and then you can play something else, play the extra ending or
I
whatever.
I don't fully know if it then just goes, okay, you're done, game over, or if there's another level or what. All I know is that that's how you win.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
I'm mad. And so I also wanted to talk about, I started a new game. I've been starting a bunch of games, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's October, so I want to play something that's horror. But I've been a little extra anxious lately, and so I haven't really been wanting to play like an actual horror game because that will probably put me into a full panic attack.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been trying to play something that's still got like that spirit of like Halloween and the spookiness and whatever. So I started Dead Rising, and Dead Rising is fine, but I don't know why I got kind of tired of it. So last night I started this game, Indigo Prophecy, which is like, did you ever play Heavy Rain or what's the other one that just recently came out? Detroit Become Human.
No, no.
Okay, so it's basically like it's kind of like watching a movie and you get to choose like dialogue
Yeah.
options and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool concept. But this one I started, it doesn't explain to you what you're doing. It's made by the same people and it's actually one of the first games made by them. And what happens is it will be like, it will show you these symbols on the screen that you have to copy real quick, but they don't explain to you that that's the position that you need to be pushing your joysticks. And like, they don't explain it. And I'm just like, wait, why am I losing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And also, then there's like really stupid dialogue where like they contradict themselves, where like I'm playing as a police officer, you play as multiple characters, and there's this bit where I'm playing as a police officer and asking a woman about she was the only witness to this murder, so you're asking her questions and you're like, can you tell me anything about this guy? And she goes, well, I don't remember what he looks like, I'm kind of freaked out, it's kind of hazy, I think he had dark hair, I think he was average height, and I think he was young. And it's like, okay, cool, thank you for that. And then a little bit later your character says to the witness, hey, if you can come down to the police station tomorrow and we'll try and get a sketch for you, that'd be really helpful. And the woman says, yes, I will never forget his face. Then which is it? Will
Yeah.
you never forget his face, or is it hazy?
Yeah.
It's so stupid. And they keep doing stuff like that. Like at one point, a character says something about how he remembers everything that happened, but he wasn't in control of his own body. And then like a minute later says, everything went blank. I don't remember what happened. Pick one.
Yeah.
It's bad writing. Look, see, this is where I get picky with video games because like I went to school, I'm a writing major.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't understand how you make a mistake that bad though. That's just bad, and you did it multiple times.
Especially when a game like relies on such heavy dialogue, you think like they have to, keep track of that stuff is kind of crazy.
Exactly. Like the story is interesting. It's a neat game, but it's so weird and kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm playing, and I'll probably end up picking something else before I finish this one because that's what I seem to do these days.
Yeah. Have you been playing any Animal Crossing? Or are you done with that game?
I don't know. I finished it back in like, that must have been like January or something.
Yeah.
Well, no, it came out in March, so it couldn't have been January.
I didn't know you could like finish the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of. There's like, once you get a certain number of stars and a certain number of people on your island and stuff, you get the concert and then you get credits roll.
Oh, okay.
And so when that happens, it's kind of like you beat the game.
Yeah.
But you could still play forever. So I've been planning to go back to it, but I just haven't. Like, I do really like the game.
My fiance plays a lot. I bought her a Nintendo Switch Lite for her birthday, so she's been playing Animal Crossing a lot. It's her probably favorite game that she plays, and she watches like a lot of streamers who play it and things like that too. It's not a game for me, but it's a cool game. But they just released like a bunch of Halloween stuff and updates, so she was all excited for that. So I was just wondering if you saw any of those. But yeah.
No, I kind of been ignoring it, to be honest. I haven't even touched my Switch in a while.
Yeah, no.
I mean, except for, and this leads us right into what I wanted to talk about next, some like free games and stuff. So one is that on October 1st, they released on the Switch Mario 35, which is like battle royale game, kind of, except you're just playing Mario. And so other players are playing at the same time as you. And when you jump on a Goomba or a Koopa or something, that goes to a different player's screen. So then they have more bad guys to fight. The better you play, the better they play, the worse it is for you. And it's a lot of fun. And I played for a few hours and then got first place. So I've won it once and played way more times than that. Uh, I really enjoy it. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
Have you been able to try that out at all?
No, I probably would though. I'd play
It's
that.
yeah, it's free. It came out on October 1st, and from what I understand, it's only like a limited time game. They're taking it away in March next year, so there's a
Yeah.
while to play it. Also, there's a new one. It came out last week, and you and I talked about this a little bit at another time, but it's called Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
I haven't played it a whole lot, but it's a free game that plays kind of like um, Breath of the Wild or like Final Fantasy the 7 remake, like the hack and slash stuff, and it plays kind of like those. And what I played of it was pretty fun. I only got into like an hour. I think I just finished the tutorial, but
Yeah.
it's neat. I'll probably jump more into it later, but there's just so many games to play.
Yeah, those are two games that I would check out. The other one that I definitely want to play now that you've um, released some videos on it, and I've seen and I've heard you talk about it a lot, is the Horizon Zero Dawn.
Mhm.
Looks like a really good game to play and kind of like a game that I would enjoy. So I'm probably gonna play that too. So a few games that I could play this week that have a little bit of update for next week that we can talk about. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Um, then, of course, I guess we should mention that, this week is when the new PlayStation Plus games come out for the free releases or whatever. And so we've got on PlayStation, you'll have on PS4, you'll have Vampire and Need for Speed Payback. Uh, let's see. So those are out today. I don't imagine you've had much of a chance to try those out or.
No, interest about the vampire game, although it doesn't look that great. But I mean,
I tried it out. I got it from my local library has video games,
oh yeah,
so I was able to try it out when it came out. Um, it was fine. Like it's an action game. I didn't get very far, but I think I favored something else over it. So
yeah,
I'll give it a real chance eventually. On Xbox, they tend to have more games, but they split the month or whatever. So throughout October, you're gonna have Slayaway Camp, The Butcher's Cut, Maid of Sker, Sphinx and the Curse Mummy, and Costume Quest. So
oh,
that's 4 games throughout the month. I don't really know anything about any of those
yeah.
games, but so I
Some
guess
free games.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to play. Like, even if it weren't for all the massive library I already have, like,
Yeah,
there's so much to just jump into.
yeah. In general, I think that games, a lot more free games will be coming out. I was reading an article that was kind of talking about the Genshin Impact and how they, games like that, like Fortnite, things like that, will start to come out more and more and just rely on, people spending a little bit in the game or merch that they sell otherwise or other forms of income besides just buying the game. They'll find a way to sneak some things in there. I always wondered why games didn't just have ads. I don't know why they don't just break up the play a little bit, put a little ad in there, and make their costs back that way. I think that could be a good way. But
I mean,
although it would be annoying, but
yeah,
but if it's free, you might be okay with doing something like that.
that is like the mobile game method, though. Like, so
Yeah.
you look at, like, I play Bejeweled on my phone, and between rounds, you gotta watch a 30-second ad or whatever. And yeah, it's
Right.
irritating, but you get kind of used to it.
Right.
Though, if I had to pay for a game and then had ads, I'd
Right.
return
Yeah.
that game so quick.
Oh yeah, for
There's
sure.
no way
For
I'm
sure.
I'm playing a game with ads that I paid.
Yeah, it only works in a free model.
Exactly.
Other than that, you're gonna piss too many people off by making them pay and then making them pay again with their time. So
I won't go too much into this. This could actually be a really fun like list article or a topic for another day. But there's examples in games where they get sponsorships where
yeah,
like you'll see on a billboard like for gum or something or
yeah.
whatever. But like my favorite by far is from Final Fantasy 15. There's a special quest where your crew is around the campfire and one of them goes, "Oh boy, my favorite food. We're going to eat some cup noodles. Can you go get me some ingredients to add to this delicious cup of noodles, please?" So then, when you complete the quest, you get a hat that looks like a one of the styrofoam cups. It's so great and so stupid, but I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, the only other games I really play that have, well, sometimes you do see like in an apocalyptic kind of game or something like that, you'll see like old like ads or like
Mhm.
Coca-Cola mixed in there, like something like that. But in sports games, they add a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
like banners and stuff, especially in like NHL, they put like around like the rink and stuff, they put different you know advertisements and things like that. So I don't know, maybe it's just another avenue to try to keep that cost of the game down a little bit. So
Mhm.
um
Well, and what was I gonna say here? Shoot. um, yeah. So I don't know. I think stuff like that is fine. And
yeah.
oh no, I remember what it was. Okay, so
uh
when I played The Last of Us 2,
yeah.
there's a bit where you kill a character who is playing a PlayStation Vita.
Oh yeah.
And it's like it's kind of cool because this is the idea of like new technologies not being made, entertainment's not the same because zombies now.
Yeah, they do that in Pokemon, I think too, don't they? Like, isn't there like they he pulls out it? Is it Pokemon or it might be another game? But anyway, he pulls out like you'll be playing on your Switch and it's like the smaller like DS version of like
Yeah,
Nintendo's thing or like whatever. Like,
yeah. They change it often, but they've been doing that like from the beginning. Like even when you played it on like the Game Boy Color, in your
yeah,
bedroom would be like a
right, yeah, yeah,
Nintendo 64 on the floor.
yeah.
So yeah, no, stuff like that's pretty funny. Um, is there anything that you've picked up this week, news or exciting video games that you want to talk about?
Well, one thing in the news is that the apparently the Xbox Series X is getting very hot, and it's extremely hot. Like streamers or people that are able to get it a little bit earlier than everybody else in the world are saying that the console itself just gets very very warm, or
Oh,
in this case, they're saying hot. Um, with like mundane tasks, or like especially when they, a big thing was backwards compatibility. So a lot of people want to play games that they've had for since they were 12. They want to be able to play it on a brand new system. Most of the time that doesn't work out, just because of like graphics, everything like that, the disc reader. Like, in order to make that work, it's a lot more challenging. So anyway, the Xbox Series X does have that capability, but they're saying that when you play an older game on it, because that's really the only games that they can play right now is older games,
mhm.
that the very, very slow movements or very mundane tasks are causing the Xbox Series X to get really hot, and I'm reading an article here, but it basically says that it's like a mini fireplace. um,
Man.
and nothing has happened yet. None of them have caught on fire, but certainly, if you think about just the wear and tear on a machine, so where you put your, you know, I should probably take better care of mine, but I don't really clean mine that often. It's just kind of on a shelf and that's where it stays, and you just kind of leave it there. And I think a lot of people do that. So once dust and, pet hair, everything like that, all that stuff gets in a machine, you really don't want that machine to be too hot, because
Yeah.
then what happens? So on the opposite side, seems like the new PlayStation from what I'm hearing from reports, is that it's a very large machine, which
Okay.
both you've seen kind of memes out there and stuff. The Xbox Series X pretty much looks like a mini fridge, and the PlayStation pretty much looks like a router
It looks
or
like a
like,
large router. Yep.
yeah. So overall, it seems like that's what the consensus is, that it's a very large machine compared to even like the PlayStation Pro. Certainly, down the line, probably in a year or two, maybe they'll come out with a slim version or something like that, where that seems to kind of be all the track record of these consoles in general. They
Yeah.
come out with a larger one, then they come out with a slim down version, and everything besides the version that does not have the disk drive anyway. Seems like they maybe will come out with even smaller version eventually once they figure out the technology more. But it seems like the PlayStation itself is running very smoothly and
Okay.
not hot at all and everything like that. So that's very good news from that. And the Xbox Series X isn't necessarily bad news either. Just because something is hot doesn't mean that it's going to catch on fire. It is alarming, but it's not necessarily like terrible news for them. So
You might want to take extra care, like,
right, yeah,
be
yeah,
careful about
exactly,
where you put it. Maybe think about investing in like a cooling fan. But
yeah. One thing that has definitely taken you know by storm seems like gaming has been this imposter game Among
oh,
Us.
yes.
Um, Maybe you want to talk a little bit. I have not played the game yet. I've only watched people play it on like Facebook Gaming, and make sure you check out our Facebook page too, because we do streaming on there as well. Um, I don't really 100% understand all the things you have to do, but Benny, you've played more of the game than I have, so maybe you can explain it to everybody.
Okay, so essentially the premise of the game is you play with a group of friends or you can play with strangers online, but your crew of up to 10 people are on a spaceship. And in that group there is one, depending on how the game is set up, there's either one or two imposters,
Yep.
and those imposters are trying to kill everybody off and trying to like corrupt the ship and make it so that everybody dies.
Yep.
You can ruin the oxygen in the game, or all sorts of nonsense. The job of the crew are to fix up the spaceship and get it running. So complete your list of tasks, and then also figure out who the imposter is and vote them off the ship.
All while
Um,
imposters, both of the imposters, can kill you.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So I've played this on 3 different occasions with groups of friends, and one of my favorite things about it isn't even just the game itself. It's the fact that you're getting people who wouldn't normally play video games to play video games. The first time I played this, I was playing with my my parents, who don't really play these types of games that much,
Yeah.
and like my brother and my wife and my sister. But like my parents, that was the big one. And then the next time I played, we got my parents involved again, and then also my father-in-law, who also doesn't really play video games.
Yeah.
And like,
So how do they play? You all play on like the computer basically?
yeah, so we've been playing it on Steam.
Yeah.
That's, as far as I know, the only place where it's available. uh but yeah, so we play on the computer. You can get a friend code or whatever. There's a chat box within the game that you can use for talking, but we use like either Skype or Discord or whatever to do voice chat.
Yeah.
But while playing, you're not supposed to talk, only during the meetings and things like that. So it's hard to explain and do justice.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, and it's just really cool to see people who you wouldn't expect to play games to be playing games.
Well, the best part about it is similar to like like a game that you play with friends. As far as like a lying game.
Okay.
You know, we play this game. I forget what it's called now. My sister's gonna kill me, but she really enjoys this game. We play it all the time. But it's basically like a card game where you have well, not cards, but
Are you talking about Mafia?
no.
Oh, shoot.
But it is. But anyway, you basically like you get a list of terms on a card, and you pass around. You pass them around, and basically like one of them doesn't know what the word is, and you have like a whole category of
Okay.
words, and you have to, and it's basically like, you know, like under the sea or something like that, and you go around in a circle and you have to describe it without giving it away, but then through that you basically find out who's lying, who doesn't really know
Okay.
what the word is, and you have to, and they're just making, the liar is just making it up based on like just what else is there, that, you know, they'll say like starfish or something like that, like there's like other like words you could say. So anyway, imposter, from what I've seen, from what I've watched, is basically the same thing. You're trying to convince everyone else because there's a whole voting process. So
Mhm.
you're trying to convince everybody else is playing that somebody else is really the imposter if you
Yeah.
are, or vice versa. You're trying to figure out who it is, and if you all vote the imposter off, and both of the imposters, depending on how many you're playing with, I guess, then th- basically they're you know, you win the game. But
Mhm.
the best is when, in my opinion, the imposters end up killing everyone and tricking everybody else, and that they're
Yeah.
not the imposter.
So I actually played this last Saturday night, just this last weekend, and I ended up getting to be the imposter like 3 times, and uh, the other 2 sessions before this, I never was the imposter. So this was my first experience.
Yeah.
Lost every time. Everybody always caught me. I start doing killing, and people are like, "Oh, it's got to be Benny."
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was always my brother who figured it out. So like I started going after him first.
yeah, yeah, to get them up.
Yeah, so he would just not suspect me because my
Yeah,
brother knows me too well.
yeah, that's funny. Well, anyway, game that you should definitely go and check out, and play with a group of friends. There's a lot of games like this coming out because of quarantine and everything like that. That
Yep.
just trying to keep family kind of together and playing games and everything like that.
Is
We played a lot of like the Jack in the Box games.
okay.
So those are kind of fun trivia type games, things like that. So yeah,
Isn't it exciting though that like two of the most popular games that came out this year don't really deal with like great graphics with
yeah,
this and Fall Guys.
yeah. Fall Guys, yeah.
Like they're so goofy, but
Yeah,
they're so much fun.
yeah, so simple games that people come up with that definitely become fun. So, anyway,
So shall we move into our main topic for the week?
sure. Why
All
don't you
right.
introduce it?
Of course. All right. So we wanted to talk about some of our favorite or most challenging or most memorable boss fights in video games. So we each picked 3, and we'll take turns saying one at a time. And we don't know what each other have picked. Um, so why don't you start us off, Ryan, with your first memorable boss fight?
All right. Well, it's I really don't remember a ton about it, so I had to kind of look it up, but
Okay.
it's definitely like the most from my childhood. Like this is probably the only video game that I would actually like get a tattoo of or like something like that. Like that I like it was just that memorable in my childhood. It was kind of in a time where I wasn't that into video games. I started playing them, and this kind of opened up a lot of game or this type of game for me that I just thought was amazing at the time. But of course, it's Zelda, Ocarina of Time. I never had played a Zelda game up until that point, and it was just very. What are you smiling for?
No, keep going.
So happy. But yeah, just I think this is kind of a cult classic video game for a lot of people anyway. Kind of did the same thing because of when it was released, because of the time period and everything like that, and because of where video games were at that time. This was like, you know, if this game would come out today, it would be huge,
Yeah.
as far as like a money making, you know, everything like that. And it was just, you know, ahead of its time and everything. So anyway, the best boss in that game has to be the end with Ganondorf. I don't know that it really was like the hardest necessarily, but it was
Yeah.
kind of like the most surprising and interesting situation because he ends up like losing his sword, and then actually the princess ends up like being
Yeah.
the final like straw and the final kill. So that's got to be that was the most epic like lead up, and you think that you've already beaten him and you think the game's over and the castle's kind of like crumbling and everything like that, and it was just like for that time it was just one of those where like after you beat the game it was so amazing, like all that time and energy and all those bosses. And actually that game in general had a lot of bosses that
Yeah.
took a lot of figuring out. Like some of them were kind of cheesy a little bit, that could have been a little bit better. I remember this like the flying dragon one that was kind of basically like a whack-a-mole kind of situation. Like it wasn't like that, like that hard. Some of them you could figure out there are things a lot easier than others, and others you had to pretty much like. And back then it wasn't like you just looked it up online and there was
Yeah.
a million videos of like how to beat a boss. It was like, okay, I'm gonna go to GameStop or I'm gonna go to Game Crazy back then, and I'm gonna buy like a player's guide and try to figure out how to beat somebody and everything. Now, like I don't even think maybe they still make them for those that really want to have like a hard copy of something, but for the most part players guides and things like that don't exist. They're mostly online. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my pick for my first boss.
So first of all, I do have a Zelda tattoo.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's part of why I was like smiling so big, because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, oh, it's like the only game I'd ever get a tattoo for.
Yeah,
I do have a tattoo for it.
do you have the Triforce?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like what I would get. I don't know. Like, I think like also it'd be cool to just get like the new Breath of the Wild Zelda, like the sword and everything like that. I think that would be like kind of a cool tattoo. It was just like that game was such a big part of growing up and getting into video games and everything. It's like a huge part to it. So anyway, that's my pick.
No, I'm definitely with you. In fact, it was on, like I told you before, that I had like a big list.
Yeah.
The Ganondorf and Ganon fights were on my list there.
Yeah.
But instead, I went for the favor of I love Batman games, especially the Arkham series, and so looking at that series in general has a lot of really good, really memorable boss fights. And my favorite of all of them is from Arkham City, when you fight Mr. Freeze. It's really cool because what happens is he's hunting for you. It's not like a straight up fight. You have to sneak up on him.
Yeah.
And you can't sneak up on him the same way more than once. So like you can hide behind like this counter, and then he'll start to walk by and you swoop over and hit him. You can't hide there again. Now you got to go somewhere else and try, like, go into the vents and try and hit him that way. And it was just really cool that you had to try and figure out like the different ways to knock him out.
Yeah.
And you'd have to do it like multiple times. Really cool fight, a lot of fun, and it's also like really tense. It's not the most challenging, but it's like you have to like really think about it, and it's not just a one-on-one fight. So
see, that's a game I never played that I probably should go back and play. I've never I never really got into it, but that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a good one. All right, so what's your second choice?
All right, so my second one is one that I like. It's kind of like debating back and forth because there's a lot of bosses in this game, but it's from God of War. It's Zeus. You fight him twice in the game, but the one that was more challenging is the second time you fight him, and he ends up like basically like multiplying, and then while he's multiplying he's healing himself and everything like that. It was like a hard fight to challenging to get through. A lot of the bosses in that game in general, like the fighting style of the game and everything like that, like they make the bosses like purposely like challenging, and I just remember always like having like near death or health and just like squeaking by a win or whatever. It's definitely one of those games, and the next game that I mentioned too will kind of have the same thing. But it's one of those games that if you were streaming online, like it would just be so frustrating because you have to do it a million times. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, the streamers are just looking at it like, oh my God, like just finish. All right. Like, why can't this guy like just like kill him or whatever? Like, it's like some games like that. It's like, okay, I get it. Like, if you die in Call of Duty, you die in one of those games. It's like over, like, okay, you're dead, you're over, you're moving on to something else, like the next thing. Like, but when you die in like a RPG style game, it's like, okay, yeah, you don't understand, this might take me like 2 days to beat. Like, like, so streaming it ends up being kind of challenging. But anyway, that's my second one, Zeus from God of War.
That sounds exactly like me streaming The Last of Us 2, because I was looking at the chats, and sometimes like people would be like, just like, you're so bad. And that's the thing. I am bad at that game.
Yeah.
But like, it's a lot of fun. And there were sections that should have been way easier than they were, but I just kept getting stuck.
You're bad at the parts that like make sense for the style of game you play that you would be bad at. Like, you're not very good with guns, but that like makes sense because you're not into like
I'm not
shooting.
generally playing shooting games. No.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing that drives me nuts about it is there was that bit with the sniper rifle.
Yeah.
And I'm streaming, and they're like, oh, watch out for where he is. And I'm looking on top of the buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, where is he? Whatever, he's probably to the right. But no, he's like straight ahead on a bridge.
Yeah.
And people in the chat are just like, he's on the bridge.
Yeah, he's on the bridge.
Watch out. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was funny. Well, you were thinking like the right way that like a sniper would be, and like when you were going up to the cars, because I watched you stream this. When you were going up to the cars, it's very like you wouldn't necessarily expect that he would be all the way over there. Like the bridge is very nonchalant in that scene.
Yeah.
Like the thing about like the buildings and everything, like it makes sense because the buildings are like so like prominent in that scene that you would think like, okay, he's got to be at the top, so you'll like look it up to try to figure. But that's what makes games great, I guess.
Yeah, I felt so dumb, but at the same time, like, it was a really funny moment.
Yeah.
It's fine to laugh at yourself sometimes. So for my second choice, I actually picked the fight from God of War, and I'll still mention it, but I'm actually gonna pick something else. But I picked the Baldur fight from God of War. Actually, so there's two. You fight Baldur in the beginning, and you fight him at the end. I actually preferred the one at the beginning. Like, it wasn't quite as hard, but like, it's just good. Like, it teaches you the combat.
Yeah.
And like, teaches you the focus of dodging and stuff like that. And that's so important in that one.
Yeah.
But instead, I figure I'll move over to in Metal Gear Solid on the PS1. There was a boss fight that everybody loves to talk about. This dude called Psycho Mantis. And the fight itself, if you know the tricks, is not really too challenging. But he kind of messes with you. And like, the character in dialogue will say like some of the games that are on your save files because it will read your memory card.
Yeah.
And then also it will say something about putting your controller in controller port 2. So like if you were playing it on the PS1, you'd have to pause the game, pull out the controller and plug it back in the player 2 spot, and then you can damage him. Now, when I played it on PS3. So it was a port of the game. And it's done a little differently because you don't like, it's a wireless controller. So you have to like hold down the PlayStation button and then click like controller options and switch the port. So that part wasn't quite as fun, but it was just like, it kind of messed with your head, and it was really interesting and a cool thing to do, especially when you think about like that game came out in the 90s and like nothing like that had been done before. And it was really like, it was a huge fourth wall break, and you had to do something in real life to win that. So
yeah.
All right, you got a good third boss fight for me.
Yeah, so I think the third one for me, well, I kind of have two. One that I'm like looking more forward to, and one that I played before. But basically, Twisted Metal Darktooth, was one of the hardest
Okay.
bosses. I think that game in general was really hard. To make it through the rounds because you basically like it wasn't like you had a million lives, like it was pretty difficult, and you started at the beginning if you didn't like go through the whole thing. It was one of those types of games. So at the time when I played it, I think it was PlayStation 2. It was like on my friend's PlayStation. I didn't even have a PlayStation at the time. I think I was an Xbox kid at that point. But very challenging, very fun. Used to stay up like all night in my friend's basement and like play it until and that just again like childhood memories of video games and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Those were like kind of first games that came out. Maybe it was PlayStation 1, I can't remember. I don't know. But anyway, regardless, it was definitely a cool fight. The one that I wanted to talk about that was also like relating to streaming and everything like that is Ghost of Tsushima. The boss fighting in it and overall fighting with your sword and everything like that, and the boss levels are just so good uh, compared to like it just reminds me of like, I mean, I'm sure there's things about like the game and fighting samurai culture that aren't exactly the same. Like there's been, how they on certain gaming sites they do reviews where they'll bring in like a samurai and he'll review
Yeah.
like the sword play, which is very cool, but I think it gets a little bit, like, okay, it's a video game, like let's relax.
Yeah.
It's not like exactly like real life. But for me, the sword style and like the fighting and everything like that, and just the way that they make you fight, like they're basically when you're at a boss level, it's so focused on your sword and
Mm.
techniques with your sword and everything like that and strategy with it. There's no like, you can't just pull out a bomb and throw it at them or anything else like that. Like there's nothing else that you can use besides your sword. So I'm looking forward to more fights in Ghost of Tsushima. The fight that I found the hardest was the second time that you fight his friend. I think his name's Ryu or something like that, but he's the head of the Straw Hats. That was like my favorite fight so far in the game because it was so hard. I actually had to like stop the stream and just like beat it myself because I was losing so many times, and I was like, okay, I recorded me beating him, but like I'm looking up online. I mean, I'm also playing the game in hard mode, so because I wanted like a tougher game. Um, a lot of people will just breeze by when easy mode. It kind of depends on like what you want. Some games I'll play in normal, and some games I'll play in hard. But this one I wanted more like a, I guess, quote unquote, authentic experience. So I wanted something a little bit tougher. But anyway, those are my, I guess, third and fourth pick.
Yeah, so for my third, I picked something from Kingdom Hearts. And this is the only boss fight from my entire list that I haven't beaten,
Oh yeah.
which is like the evidence of how hard it is. So have you happened to play Kingdom Hearts? Okay.
No.
So it's a, action RPG crossover between Disney and like Final Fantasy. And you get to fight Sephiroth, and it's a bonus battle, so it's not required to beat the game.
Are you saying it's a bonus boss?
It is a bonus boss. Yeah. Always be plugging.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this fight is ridiculous because you only have like this small space to fight in. Like there's like a fight ring basically,
Yeah.
and his sword is stupid long, and he's got distance attacks, and almost any attack he does is going to take out most of your health. And like my health is almost maxed out, like and I have the second best weapon in the game and the best armor, and I still can't get it. Like it, you have to like sit there and hit him so many times before you even see the health bar start to decrease, because it's way more than what their maximum was.
Yeah.
So it won't even show that you're doing damage until you've already depleted like 3 health bars worth. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
but that fight is so much fun.
Yeah, see, that's the difference between like like gamers and people who just like casually play video games.
Mhm.
Is that like my fiance, for example, like she likes video games to a certain extent, but she like can't stand it when like a boss or like a level is too hard that you can't beat it. But
Mhm.
that's what we enjoy. Is like
Yeah.
I tell her all the time, I'm like, but that's like the fun part. Like, you know, like if you can't beat it or it's like so frustrating, like that's the point. Like, because then once you finally conquer it, like the amount of accomplishment and everything that you get from that
Mhm.
is like why you play. So yeah, that's kind of like, I guess, like the whole point of these three picks is like they might not have been the most challenging. They might have been something cool, but they also could have been something challenging. And for us, it's like bosses that maybe we have struggled against so much. So anyway, pretty cool. Have you thought of any games? Well, you actually kind of brought up a couple games that I'm already going to play.
Yeah.
But did you get a chance to look at any other games that you wanted to recommend this week? I have one for you. But...
Um, I don't know. I mean, I was talking to you a little bit about things I think you should try out. I think Undertale is a lot of fun. We talked the other day about how you've never played that.
Yep.
It's kind of a weird one. Also, I don't know. Have you ever played BioShock?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
that's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's like the first shooter game that I like got and was just like, I'm gonna get good at this, and I
Yeah.
did. You
It's
know.
another game that I would consider getting like that type of tattoo
Mhm.
for a game because I like the whole like steampunk, the
Yeah.
whole like the graphics of that game are what really make it. And you know, the shooting's like fun and the game itself is like a good game, but the graphics and like the whole scenery and everything, it's an awesome experience when you're playing. But my recommendation for you this week is,
Okay.
have
For
you
Honor.
played this?
I've played it a little bit. I haven't
Oh,
gotten
okay.
past the tutorial, but I got it from PlayStation Plus, and so I've played it a little bit. Yeah, I'll try and give it a real
You
shot.
don't like it?
No, it's fine. I just it's I went to play it with a friend of mine, and we just never really like
Yeah.
got into it together. But
I played it for a while. I the thing about it is that you won't like about it is that the like storyline isn't that great.
oh, okay, well,
You know, like there's not much like to that part of it.
yeah,
But what I think will be good for like you to play is because like the fighting style and the challenging, that's like the hardest part, and I think it will make you better at parts like in The Last of Us or something like that, where there's like close hand-to-hand combat or this doesn't have guns, but something like that. But anyway, the cool part about it is if you actually play online, if you give that a chance to go online and play a little bit, there's a couple cool game modes and everything like that. I don't know how much updating that. It's been a while since I played it, but I actually recommended this game to you because I figured that you wouldn't have ever played it. And that's why I wanted you to kind of play, because it doesn't seem like a Benny Ulich game
yeah.
on the
Well,
surface that you would actually go out and play. But I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. At least it's one of those games that you can kind of like just play like sparingly every once in a while, and it's not like you're, you know, glued to it for very long. So anyway, if you still have it, you should check it out. If not, I can send you my copy, but if it's still on the PlayStation Plus, you should check it out.
I should still have access to that. Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for this week. But
All right.
anyway, make sure you check out the link in the description for the ice shaker. Again, give a little plug there. Check out the link in the description. They got a lot of cool products on there. Check that out, ice shaker. Follow the link in the description. That's pretty much it for us, right, this week.
Yep.
So come back next week, see what games Benny and I are playing for the next week. A lot of games. This, you know what? This just makes us like get our list of games so much longer. I know you have a long list. You have some YouTube videos out there of games that you're trying to get down and play, and that's a good strategy. Try to, in general, beyond just the electronic waste out there that a lot of people have, in general, just from a budget standpoint, just play games that you haven't played, you know, haven't finished yet, and stop going out and buying the new game just so you can play it for 15 minutes and put it down. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Just
my little
remember.
rant,
Yeah. Just remember that, like, when you bought that game, you bought it for a reason.
Right. Anyway, go and check out some of our other content up on the Facebook site. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out Benny's YouTube channel too. He's got a lot of cool videos out there. Got a lot of gaming stuff and some funny videos out there too. And make sure to check out our streams when available. We usually stream on like a Sunday and also starting to stream throughout the week. So check that out. I'll be playing Ghost of Tsushima probably today, if not tomorrow. So check that out. Anyway,
I'll play something at some point. I'll figure out what's next.
yeah, we got to get Benny a new game or one that he hasn't beaten yet to get on the stream again. Anyway, this is from Ryan Collins and Benny Ulich. You are listening to the Bonus Boss podcast, and thanks for listening. And we'll check you out next week. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.